Dear Mr. Carnegie, our records show that we have not received your payment of $35,000, which was due on
Dear
August
Mr.
23rd.
Carnegie, I am writing to notify you that despite numerous efforts to obtain final payment for the above invoice, I have been unsuccessful.
This letter will serve as formal notice to you that you are in default of your obligation to pay the sum of $59,000 for steel delivered to you.
I must now accelerate collection efforts in accordance with the terms
oversight on your part, and you will be able to settle this outstanding amount immediately.
We will have no alternative but to commence legal proceedings against you.
I guarantee if these guys were alive today, they wouldn't be telling you about their successes. They'd be telling you about their early failures or the places they almost failed. That's the great motivator, and you have to be able to embrace that. If you can't embrace both failure or the possibility of failure or the tremendous fear of failure, you can't be wildly successful. It's an axiomatic truth.
With no money left, Carnegie is forced to bring construction to a halt. His dream has become a nightmare. But he's not going down without a fight. The birth of modern America is well underway. Trains now touch all four corners of the continent. Homes across the nation are lit at night. And the country's most ambitious construction project is in progress on the banks of the Mississippi River. Led by Andrew Carnegie. Carnegie has insisted on building his bridge out of steel, an unproven material, with huge costs. Construction is drastically behind schedule and dangerously over budget. Carnegie is under mounting pressure.
The difference between people who succeed and people who fail, I think, in many cases, it's not fear. Everyone experiences fear. The difference is, what do you do with your fear? Do you work to overcome it, or do you let it defeat you? And I think that is actually what distinguishes very successful people from others.
Desperate, Carnegie reaches out to investors, looking for an infusion of cash.
You will be glad to learn that the building of St. Louis Bridge is progressing smoothly. I am convinced that steel is the future. However, obtaining such a large quantity of steel is proving to be difficult, causing us some delays. It is also proving to be extremely expensive. My forecast shows that we will require another $1 million before the year is out. But I have no doubt that in time the people will come to see the bridge as the eighth wonder of the world. Yours sincerely, Andrew Carnegie.
Carnegie's last-minute pitch works. He secures the financing he needs. And finally, after 4 years, the bridge is complete. The results are epic. But Carnegie now faces a new problem.
In St. Louis, one of the real problems was convincing people that the bridge wasn't going to fall. I mean, nobody had ever seen bridges like this anywhere.
Carnegie sees all the possible uses for steel. But before he can realize the material's potential, he needs to convince the public of its strength. And he has a plan to do just that. A popular superstition at the time holds that an elephant won't cross an unstable structure.
The day the bridge opens, Carnegie, who is a master publicist, sets up a parade across the bridge that's led by an elephant.
It's an incredible gamble, but Carnegie hopes if the elephant crosses, the people will follow.
As the people of St. Louis look at this bridge, they see that it can sustain whatever weight's going to be put on it.
When the stunt succeeds, Carnegie gets more requests for his steel than he can possibly handle. And his biggest customer is an industry he knows well. The railroads are looking to replace their bridges and rails with steel. But Carnegie can't produce enough of the new material to fill all the orders. He needs to increase his capacity. And to do that, he needs to raise additional funds. So he turns to his old mentor, Tom Scott. With his help, Carnegie raises over $21 million in today's money. And with it, he builds his first steel plant.
He sees the future, and he is willing to invest where few other American entrepreneurs are willing to invest. In these gigantic new plants.
Sprawled over 100 acres just outside of Pittsburgh, Carnegie's steel mill is the largest in the nation, capable of rolling out 225 tons of steel a day.
You have to believe, if you're Carnegie, that you're going to have multiple years of growth where steel is important. The faith and optimism that someone like Carnegie had is just off the charts versus what we see now.
With the new plant, Carnegie can supply as much steel as the country needs and make himself a fortune. But Carnegie's timing couldn't be worse. After years of overbuilding, the railroads are suddenly struggling to stay profitable.
There were too many railroads at the time. There wasn't enough traffic to sustain them.
With the railroads in dire need of cargo, John Rockefeller sees an opportunity and negotiates better rates for shipping his oil. But the struggling railroads quickly realize their business won't survive and go back on their word, causing Rockefeller to pull his oil from the trains. Carnegie's mentor, Tom Scott, tries to adjust. But he can't survive without Rockefeller's oil. His business is decimated. And Tom Scott never recovers.
From ashes to ashes and dust to dust.
Andrew Carnegie has lost his mentor. The man who meant more to him than anyone else in the world.
Andy. Now, take this and this to the division superintendent.
I think you can do it.
Yes, sir.
As far as Carnegie is concerned, one man drove Tom Scott to his grave. And now, Andrew Carnegie wants revenge. America's growth following the Civil War is nothing short of epic. Train tracks link east to west as never before. Oil lights homes from coast to coast. And steel is remaking the landscape in a way never thought possible. But just when the growth looks unstoppable, the railroad industry, the backbone of the American economy, collapses. And the nation is thrown into the worst depression it's ever seen. Andrew Carnegie is on the brink of losing everything. Without the railroads, he's lost his market for steel. And he blames his bitter rival, John D. Rockefeller. Desperate for a new market, Carnegie notices a trend he can capitalize on. Unemployed Americans by the thousands are flooding cities like New York and Chicago in search of work. And to accommodate the population surge, buildings are being constructed as fast as possible.
Carnegie brilliantly begins to see that the future is not in rails, but in structural steel, in girders, in beams, to build skyscrapers. And again, he's ahead of the curve.
The world's first skyscraper is built in Chicago. Its thin brick walls hang on a thick frame manufactured from Carnegie steel. In the next few years, over 100,000 new buildings are erected in Chicago alone.
Until steel began to become a major product, much of what we see about America could not have happened. America grew up vertically on steel.
Modern America is being built using Carnegie steel. The skyscraper boom makes Andrew Carnegie one of the wealthiest men in America. But for Carnegie, it's not enough. John Rockefeller's personal fortune is 7 times larger than Carnegie's, a feat he's achieved through a calculated ruthlessness. Carnegie believes that to avenge his mentor's death, he must surpass John Rockefeller as the most powerful man in America. And to do that, he must find help from someone even more cutthroat than his rival. And he knows the perfect man for the job. Henry Frick is a self-made millionaire by 30.